Hey guys, it's Kingless from the One Punch Armory, and today we got a new box from Relic. Relic is going to be from London, Ontario. I got this box, I got this sword, obviously it's a sword. Ordered on Tuesday, came on Thursday morning, amazing fast, just because, well, we're kind of just 2 hours away. So, came really nicely. What exactly is this box? If you guys remember, a long time ago, I have first gotten my antique. Drop my fucking antique. Any case, a long time ago I got my first antique Schiavona from the late 17th century, and I've always really wanted a sparring version. But of course, unfortunately, sparring version Schiavona are really hard to come by. Just because a lot of people don't make them, they're very expensive, or they're just not really easy to mass produce. So a lot of times, we kind of have to either wait for a really long time, and because there's a tournament coming up, I decided that we could actually get one of a blunt Schiavona that's made for reenactment use, that has a bit of a good handguard, and then we're going to be using it into sparring. This is a miracle because usually when I put paper wrapping on the ground, Odin would just go and run for it and just eat them all. But hello, this is the little menace that I adopted in Korea. He's cute as hell. Odin, say hi. Odin, do something. Thank you. Look at that beautiful red scabbard. This is actually amazing. Whole scabbard itself, made from wood, core liner, really nice. And the chafe, it's just this leather bound thing. Now, this chafe is, this end cap is completely ahistorical. Schiavona chafe does not look like this at all, by the way. Usually a lot of times they at least they got a bit of the bars right. So Schiavona scabbard actually have the chafe itself is actually made from metal. So they extend maybe up to half, 1/3 of it. There's a band of metal going top and bottom on the true edge and false edge running down to the bottom. And then there are a series of bands that holds this long blanket together in place. So then when you put your sword together or when it's banging around in place, it protects the scabbard a lot better. But you know what? For 400 bucks you get a scabbard and you get a sword belt. Damn, it's a steal. Fun fact, all Schiavonas are actually females because they're Schiavona, meaning a Slavic woman. Oh yeah, that's a chalk blade. Oh my god. Oh, that's hilarious. This is. Oh my god, this thing is heavy. This thing is massive. Holy shit. All right, so I guess onto the video. This cute little short blade is hilarious. Alrighty, so this one right here, this is the deepeeka Schiavona, and obviously it copies the Type 2B. Schiavona wise, there's technically, once they're starting to get classified, they are going to be classified into either early type, which is just Schiavona of absolutely every single style that you can see, and it's like, if it works, it works. There's a Schiavona basket. Or it's going to be a Type 1. Type 1 is essentially the antique that I just showed you, and it is essentially either a half basket or by and large it's just one of these bone-hill shaped ones. Or we're gonna get Type 2. Type 2 is where I actually get into the later century stuff, later 15, crazy. Later 17th century, and I think even some 18th century as well. And that is what you see right here. Very iconic. So a Schiavona, it's a cavalry weapon. Obviously, you can use it in well, foot combat as well if you need. It's a sword. It's not like you get on the ground and suddenly you sort of explode off your hand. Okay, guys. In any case, cavalry sword, so they tend to be a little bit more heavier, tend to be a little bit more longer. So seeing a Schiavona, that is only a 30-inch blade. This one's 30-inch. It's quite weird. Cool. Maybe they brought it into naval combat. Who knows? Because back then, Italy, meaning Venice, had a huge naval power. So maybe a Schiavona is actually being used on a ship, and this is actually kind of what it is. I thought that was kind of a cool story. I haven't seen a Schiavona this short before in existence on museum and whatnot. Okay, so can't prove that. Anyways, so this is a Type B, Type 2B. Actually, I think it's a Type 2A. I think so. I have to double check. Anyways, so it's a classified as Type 2 anyway because we see all these little. So if you look at that, I always see these looking like little cat heads. It's absolutely freaking adorable. Obviously upside down right now, but I see them as little cats. And Type 2 will have the sunburst kind of web coming out, which of course deepeeka did really well. From the cross guard, it exploded into a web of these little fingers right here. And the symbolic reason to that is actually one of them is like it's a radiant sun kind of thing. It's really proud, or just goddamn cool, which it is. And then of course after that, that connects into the middle section of the bar. This section right here, if you actually lay it out in pattern, it's a rectangular piece that goes around this piece. And obviously there's many little notch to be done. I don't know how they did this one. I'm not surprised if they have a single piece and they cut it out. The work right now, it's not the most intricate, beautiful thing ever, but it's actually nicely made for 400 bucks. I'm quite happy about this. The welding itself, as you see on where the knuckle bolt and the cage meet, it's done quite nicely. I quite like that. Aside from welding, there are other ways that we can attach these bars onto the actual different components of the Schiavona, and they are usually done by peening. Peening is when you have a little mushroom nut, you put it through, you pound it in, and it rivets, right? Peening. Anyways, so yeah, quite cool on this side. And then next we have on the other side, very typical Type 2B, which it's, well, they did the job just fine. Now, where it looks weird, I do like how there is space for my finger to go in. The guard itself is fine, and that's the main reason why I bought this. I just really wanted for the guard and for the pommel. It seems like this one they just use a broadsword blade with a very interesting hollow grind. I have to say that's one of the thickest hollow grind I've ever seen. It's a very shallow grind, but it's a really wide grind. Kind of cool actually. And this sword itself, like I mentioned, it is kind of reenactment, so it is super sharp. You can run your finger over this. For just, I think 25 or 30 bucks, you can actually get this sharpened by Relic. And that is kind of cool if you want a sharp sword. And yeah, Relic actually sharpened every single sword for you. I thought that was kind of cool. There are no distal taper. This thing is just chunk all the way throughout, and it goes into a fairly abrupt point, which is kind of cool. The follow runs in about almost halfway to the blade. Anyways, such is life. And now to the backside. So where it's actually easier to show it on this side because we see more of the blade. That's the back. That's the inside of the guard, so it covers your thumb and all that. The blade itself, once again, it is very thick on with the receiving end. And what kind of strikes me as, oh, that's a nasty weld mark right there. So if you look at it right here, not the prettiest weld ever, but that's okay. For 400 bucks is good enough. So one of the weird thing about Schiavona is that they can have a front crellon because obviously many of these arming sword. By the way, this is straight up an arming sword with a mega beefed up cage, as per se. They could have a little bar in the front and it either sweep to the side, sweep down, sweep to the other side, or straight out. But a lot of 2B will just have it quite clean because at that point is that they don't really do anything when you have a solid guard. But the back crellon do persist. I've never seen a back crellon this long before. Now, would I keep it like that? Yeah, why not? It catches all the swords. It's great. Would it deform and break? I think it might. The crellon itself is actually pretty nice and big. I really like it. But this little piece of metal, it's not that much of material to really take the hit. Now, given that this is still a little bit between 1 I think this is going to be a good 45 millimeter of metal right here. And the hilt itself, like that's a substantial amount of metal. That's a good 45 millimeter of metal, which is why I am quite excited about using the hilt itself. So moving on forward, let's look at the handle itself. So when I put my finger into it, I can still finger the cross just fine. To make this sword better, I would actually take a grinder or whatever and just actually make it a little bit castle, and it would be a lot more comfier. It's the sword itself. It is a heavy chunk. Boy, you're not gonna do any fast fencing with this. You might be on the horseback trying to lop someone's head off because you're going down the speed of a horse anyway. But this thing is heavy. Like it's extremely heavy. And I think it's because by and large the blade itself there's quite a bit of weight to it. And what they did with the handle highly confuses me. It's a triangular handle wrapped in leather. Beautiful stitching work, by the way. They did a really good stitching work. It's very tight. First off, they have this metal chafe right here. I don't know why. It's pretty. Anyways, they made this handle rectangular in a sense. It is and the profile, it is a triangle, but there's so many edges to it, so it's just not the most comfiest thing to hold in outside. But you can, anyone's hand will get in. And as a preparation for this, I have been curious. I'm pretty sure I can fit my hemoglove into this. It's just how big it is. Now, Schiavona hilt should never be this big, because the more bigger the Schiavona handle is, the more metal you have to carry around. And when you just need to, protect yourself, you don't need that much metal. You know what? Okay, I was right. The handle, the actual basket itself, I can fit almost my HEMA glove into it, and that's a massive foam thing. And even then, I have more space inside. So what I mean is, I was actually prepared to cut the hilt in half, squish it until it's appropriate size, and then I'm gonna pin it back together. I think that's the best way of salvaging this hilt. Which, once again, I bought this mostly for the hilt, pommel, and the pretty nice scabbard anyway. Okay, and now what that kind of confused me is that they had a piece of little leather right here. There's a little piece of leather right here, if you can see that. I don't know why they had that. This reminds me of a lot of deepeeka's arming sword and longsword. When they try to put the scabbard into it, and before it hits the guard, they put a little piece of felt right here, and it makes it a little bit softer, which is kind of nice of them. Interesting. Okay, so, and then next, this pommel right here, it is massive. This pommel essentially is just a block of, I hope it's brass. They're supposed to be brass, by the way. I hope it's brass, but this thing is massively thick. Now, a lot of the Schiavona pommel shouldn't really sit, the base of the pommel should not sit past the actual hilt. It's actually the ear of the cat ear should be close to this little point. So then when they made this, they actually made this almost like 2 inch too far away from the handle. The handle is just way too long in general. And the reason why they have that is because a lot of times we see a little ring that's gonna be pierced into the little cat ears, and it goes into this receiving end. So then I guess the pommel doesn't turn and all. So once again, this is an absolute real original from the late 17th century. Similar time period is what this is. And if you look at it, look at how laughably big the deepeeka is. And we're gonna see that, so I put both cross guard relatively close to each other. And we see that on the deepeeka one, the one on the bottom, the palm was all the way out here, where the actual original palm was all the way in here. Kind of weird. And now I purposely got this late 17th century Schiavona because it has the biggest, fattest, widest, chunkiest, coolest blade I can ever find. It's a beautiful 5-folder blade. And even then, it looks like a toothpick compared to the reproduction made by deepeeka. So I don't know what monster hunter they're slaying back when deepeeka made this, but it's a chunky boy. So now I'm just gonna pull like 2 inch away. This looks tiny. And if we look at the original Schiavona, they're very, very, very tight along the hand. If I put my hand in this, it's very tight against my hand, right? But one thing I forgot to mention is that every single Schiavona that I found has a thumb ring. So on my original right here, the thumb ring is this little piece right here. So then what happens is that when you are holding the sword, you can actually put your thumb onto this for better control. However, we're gonna find that in this deepeeka Schiavona, there's absolutely no thumb ring, and there's no attempt of making a thumb ring. So thumb ring does help a lot in handling, so I'm not surprised if this sword actually have a thumb ring. It actually might be a lot better. Before I take this apart, I'm gonna weight this. I'm curious how much it weighs. God, this sword is 1,400 grams. Wow, that's heavy. Any case, yeah, swords should not be this heavy. This is actually heavier than a lot of long swords out there. Cool. Alright, as with a lot of deepeeka weapons, they are actually going to be done on pin constructions. And if we look at it, that is the ugliest pin work I've ever seen in my life. But the cool part is that it makes my job a lot easier to rip it off. So if you guys are looking for a relatively inexpensive Schiavona, fully expecting that you have to do a lot of work to it to make it into a quite nice and fun, comfortable piece, you should check one of these one out. I wouldn't immediately buy it first. Check it out first, see how you like it. Deepeeka has went a long way. They made a lot of really beautiful stuff. Now in the recent modern times, a lot of the arming sword weighs fantastically well. Really good profile distal taper. Sorry, really good profile taper. Meaning on the side, we see that the blade goes into a cube point, and a lot of the blades on the deepeeka actually has distal taper. Now, unfortunately, this Schiavona, when they make this, it is an earlier style of their model making, so this does suffer from the classic deepeeka issue where it is just overly too heavily built. So if you guys are checking out one of the newer deepeeka weapons, I do quite like them. They're actually a lot of fun to play with, and as a reenactment weapon, they're actually quite safe. But if you're getting one of these older generation of deepeeka swords, be a little bit more dubious about them because nobody actually enjoyed the handling. They just look like a sword-shaped object that could take a beating. Still better than Maw Ninja Sword, but I mean, for Maw Ninja Sword, you can probably get for like $60, whereas something like this, which is a sword-like object, went up to about $400. So yeah, this is the first impression of the deepeeka Schiavona. If it sounds like I'm not impressed about this sword, that's entirely true. As a sword wise, I'll give it a 3 out of 10. It is a terrible sword. But I bought this purely for the parts. And I love how they already have a really good setup for the hilt. The hilt is beautiful as long as I squish this into an appropriate Schiavona size. Then this hilt, I'm not surprised if it can stand up to really good sparring. The metal is thick, and that's what I'm after. And of course, the pommel itself. I am very curious, what exactly is the metal made from? And what's gonna happen is that I do like how the shape of the palm already started out as a cat-shaped head. What I'm gonna do is that I'm going to take it into my grinder or my sanding belt, whatever it is. I'm gonna take a lot of metal off until I make this handle work. One of the things is that if you are gonna be trying to buy just the hilt of a Schiavona or just the pommel of a Schiavona, there's actually a couple of places. But you'll be quickly discouraged about the price. The cheapest one I found right now is Armor Class. Armor Class UK. Ian makes fantastic stuff, and I have many of his stuff. I've actually ordered 2 Schiavona from Ian, and they took a lot longer than I like, which is common. And just the hilt itself, they go to about 260 Greater Britain pound, GPB, Greater Pound Britain. In any case, it's quite expensive. So it converts up to almost like, you're looking at about close to $500, $400. So that's the cost of the entire sword. That's before shipping and all that, right? And that's not including the problem. And even then, that was a simple hilt, and it is not one of these 2B. For 2B hilt, they do cost a lot more at mostly about 350 GBP. Very expensive. You can also get these Schiavona hilt commonly on dark wood armory. I almost say dark, so I get them mixed up. Dark wood armory. Dark wood armory makes a fantastic looking Schiavona, and they behave like Schiavona. But the hilt itself goes to about 600 to 750 USD, meaning that's almost $1,000 for in Canadian for a hilt. You could have got 2 of these. So for a very easy entry level, price wise, Schiavona, getting one of these should be a pretty good choice. Well, stick around for more of these videos. I'm going to be posting a lot more about what I'm going to do with the Schiavona and how I'm going to turn it into a spar safe weapon. Well then, thank you very much for watching this video. If you guys have any question, as usual, comment down below. And I really appreciate a like and a subscribe. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, as well as TikTok. It's kind of funny how TikTok it's actually booming nowadays. It's kind of cool. Anyways, thank you very much for watching this video. If you have any question, feel free to let me know. And if you have any recommendation on what I should really do with this, as well as aside from squishing it and pinning it, sanding this down, putting a sparring blade onto it, I would love to hear your thoughts. Thank you.